And so it does annoy me that some in my community, the Muslim American community, want us to pretend that this is an easy choice, that you just abandon Harris to support Gaza, that you have clean hands, and that you then have no moral responsibility for the pro-genocide, pro-Netanyahu, anti-Muslim, racist, unhinged Trump who comes next, because that is who comes next, whether you like it or not. And so
whoa. And that's case and fact right there. All right, so let me go ahead and just make a disclaimer here, all right? If you guys have any issue or any comments or want to have that conversation with me on anything that's mentioned in this video, meet me in the Discord. Don't send me a whole chapter long paragraph. Like, I'm not going to read that. All right, I'm not going to waste my time sending 600 characters to you and you're just going to ignore me. Hit me up in the Discord and let's have that conversation, all right? I got an open door policy, all right? So first off, as much as I want a valuable Green Party to exist, as much as I understand that we need more options and sometimes a third party, fourth party, fifth party might be more sensible in voting for, I get that and I want that. But unfortunately, and even the Green Party admitted just a couple of days ago, they're not going to win. So why am I going to vote for someone or a party that's not going to win? And I understand it morally and this, and I get it. But at the end of the day, we're still left with two options. And unfortunately, one is worse than the other. I don't care if it's a little worse or a lot more worse. Worse is worse. Okay, so we all got to make that tough decision and put our vote where our responsibilities are. Because I'm gonna make this plain and simple. We're gonna get into Mehdi kind of explaining this when it comes to the Muslim voters here in America in this election. Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party is going to support their ally, which is Israel. We get that. But who do you think is more persuadable? Who do you think is more pressurable when it comes to forcing a ceasefire or anything to that effect? Who do you think is more pushable? Trump in the Republican Party or Kamala Harris in the Democratic Party? And I swear, if you are not being honest with yourself, you are literally the problem. Be honest with yourself. It is the Democratic Party who, obviously, if you put enough pressure on them, they will do. Just like Joe Biden, when everyone said, hey, he's old as hell, he's going to lose the election. What did they do? I mean, it was a little too late, but I mean, they switched him out with somebody else who could win. So I believe, which I'm not saying is 100% possible, but it's more feasible than Trump being in office, and we already know his stance on it. If it's going to make his constituents and his voters happy, he will personally bomb them himself. He will wipe the Palestinian people himself if it knew it's going to get him some likes on Twitter or something. So let's be honest with ourselves. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hear Mr. Mehdi speak on this.
As a Muslim and as an American, this past year has been an absolute nightmare, watching a horrific and heartbreaking genocide unfold in front of our eyes in Gaza in an election year, armed, funded, and enabled by our country, the United States. An election year in which the choice is between two effectively pro-genocide candidates, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And yes, Jill Stein is in the race too for the Greens, but look, she can't win and won't win, as our own people now admit. For a lot of Muslim voters, though, the only thing that matters is punishing the Democrats who are in power right now. And I understand that. I get it. I feel it too. I also want to politically punish them. What they've done on Gaza and now Lebanon is immoral, illegal, outrageous, as I have been saying for 12 straight months. I am, though, uncomfortable watching some Muslims weaponize our faith and our sense of community to try and score political points, to badger people into voting against Harris, no matter who or what comes next. In recent days, I've seen some foreign analysts and influencers like Sami Hamdi suggest it is your obligation as a Muslim to vote against Harris, even if it means a Trump victory. I've seen a big group of American imams, many of whom I respect, writing an open letter quoting the Quran and urging Muslim Americans to abandon Harris. Now, in my view, there are three big problems with this line of argument, and I hope you can hear me out in good faith, even if you don't necessarily agree with me. And to be clear, by the way, because there is a lot of misinformation going around, I'm not here to tell you to vote for Harris. No, I'm not going to tell you how to vote. But I do want to explain to you what I think is at stake, what you need to be thinking about as you cast your vote, and why it's a little more complicated than some folks on the internet might have you believe.
Okay.
Number one, the increasing use of Islam, of religion, of faith, of invoking the Quran to try and get people to vote the right way, almost emotionally blackmailing them into not voting for the Democrats, and the accompanying insinuation that you're not a good Muslim, or not even a Muslim at all, if you decide to vote for the candidate who you think is the lesser of two evils. That line of thinking, that line of argument really bothers me.
And just to kind of add on to that, because that type of conversation could be implied on any other type of group of something, like black people, you know what I'm saying, which is you know, a thin line of doing something like that. Like, if you vote Republican or vote for Trump, you are voting against black people. And sometimes you can get into that lane, intentionally or unintentionally, scolding other black people if they're voting for Trump. Because in your mind, you're like, the Republican Party don't give two damns about black people or your black ass. So why are you voting for that party? You know, and you can have your back and forth, but like Mehdi said, like, you can vote the way you want to vote, but you have to be careful on how you're phrasing that conversation and not, like you said, morally trying to scold people into voting one way or another. So that's something I even have to practice myself when I'm speaking or hearing black people or brown people or gay or trans people voting for Republicans. Like, it's just so kind of backwards thinking to me, you know? So
the Green Party's vice presidential candidate, Butch Ware, who is a Muslim, recently referred to other Muslims who support Kamala Harris as Muslims, in quote marks, as if they're not real Muslims, as if they're fake Muslims. That is a very dangerous road to go down. You're the Green Party, you're not ISIS. You shouldn't be takfiring fellow Muslims, especially over a secular, domestic political disagreement. You don't know what's in another person's heart, what moral calculations they've made about how best to use their vote, given what's at stake in this election. Who are you to judge another person's faith? Number two, this idea that if Muslim voters deliver a defeat to the Democrats come November, the Democrats will then be forced to take the Muslim vote seriously. And
this is one thing that I had to grapple with when it came to Bernie Sanders being, I don't want to say this close, but he was closer to being president than, you know, ever before. And when when the Democratic Party just cheated Bernie Sanders, it hurt me. You know what I'm saying? And I had a long thought of, like, the Democratic Party essentially at some point they're going to do what they want to do. And when it comes to who they decide to elect, they're going to elect. You know what I'm saying? And like I said at the beginning of this video, you know, it's possible to pressure them to do what you want them to do, but that can only go so far. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to someone like Bernie Sanders, who could, in my opinion, change the game, they didn't want that to happen. So I even had to grapple with that. Like, the Democratic Party, at the end of the day, is a private institution, and they're going to do what's in their best interest. So
Muslim Americans will have a newfound political power here in the United States. I've heard that everywhere. Now, I don't want to sound patronizing here, but it is a little naive and simplistic to think US politics works in this way. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I wish it did. And I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but trust me, it's not how the US political system works. I mean, Do you really think that, let's say, Muslim Americans caused Kamala Harris to lose Michigan and lose the presidential election in November, that on the morning after the election, Democrats will wake up and say, wow, if only we'd been more pro-Muslim. Well, we've learned our lesson. Now we're going to listen to Muslims on Palestine and on foreign policy. No, of course not. What they'll do is say, good luck to you, Muslims. You helped Trump win. Now you're on your own surviving under him.
There you go.
You'll have...
That's the same thing that happened with Hillary and the black vote. A lot of the black vote didn't go to Hillary as Hillary thought was going to happen. And did that change their positioning on anything that black voters want from a party? The answer is no. They're still doing and saying the same things they've been saying. So I don't know what better example to give you.
One party, the Republican Party, that already hates us, and another party now that hates us too. Now, you may not care about that, fine. But I'm not sure how that gives us any political power or leverage in this country. By the way, if you think I'm making this up, just go back to 2016 and Hillary Clinton's defeat. The Democrats didn't wake up then and say, damn it, we should have listened to Bernie Sanders and been more left-wing. No, they vilified the Bernie wing of the party, blamed them for Trump, and then nominated Biden, not Bernie, 4 years later. The left didn't get special leverage. Go back even further to 2000, when a clear majority of Muslim Americans decided to punish the Democrats and vote en masse for George W. Bush. Did that make the Democrats become pro-Muslim? No. Did that stop George Bush from invading Iraq and killing 500,000 Muslim Iraqis? No. But number three, the biggest issue I have is with the minimization of the danger posed by Donald Trump. This suggestion that if Muslims abandon Harris and if Trump wins, it won't be so bad because, Trump's not that bad. Personally, I find it rather shocking, offensive even, to see people rewriting the history on Trump, the history of just 4 years ago. We've become like goldfish, no memory of anything that happened more than a week ago, it seems. This analyst, Sami Hamdi, said in a recent viral video that, and I quote, "You survived 4 years of Trump, you can survive again." Well, no, we didn't survive 4 years of Trump. Stop saying this. It's just not true. 450,000 Americans died from COVID on Trump's incompetent watch while he was telling us to inject disinfectant into our arms. And according to one study, 40% of those deaths were preventable. So 180,000 Americans would be alive today were it not for Trump. Another...
And to add on, I don't know what he's going to say next here, but even when it comes to abortion rights, something that has been a consistent understanding when it comes to the courts and, a lot of presidential candidates is that's something that has been set precedents for so long. But Trump strategically, or the people who's working behind the scenes, I don't think Trump is that smart to do something like this, but they just injected the Supreme Court justices that knew that they were going to overturn Roe versus Wade, and they did it, which no president has ever dared to even try to do something like that because they know how unpopular that would be. But Trump did it. So I believe if he gets into office again, and hopefully it will be his last 4 years, I think he's going to go out with a bang. He ain't going to be like, oh, no, he's going to do what he wants. He's going to try to make history in doing some of the most craziest, unbelievable, crazy things. So, I mean, we can test fire if we want.
25,000 Americans might also be alive today if Trump hadn't made it so hard for them to access health care. Well, that's Americans, you might say. At least he didn't do a genocide in the Middle East. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. In Yemen, where he helped MBS kill tens of thousands of Yemenis over 4 years. 2018, in fact, was the most violent year in the history of the Yemen civil war. 30,000 deaths on Trump's watch. Not to mention all the drone strikes he did. More than Obama and more than Biden. So if the argument is you're stepping over the corpses of Palestinians if you vote for the Dems, and aren't you also stepping over the corpses of Yemenis by allowing Trump to win again? Or the future corpses of Iranians, who Trump is now openly threatening to support the bombing and killing of? Or even more Palestinian corpses, with Jared Kushner telling Israel to finish the job in Gaza? Is that the game we really want to play with Muslim lives? And look, to use dead Muslims as a cudgel, as a stick in this way, to bully and blackmail people into voting for what you want, is not just distasteful, it's awful. And it's also nonsensical. Most Muslim Americans already voted for Joe Biden in 2020. Did anyone say at the time that they would have to answer on the day of judgment to the hundreds and thousands of Iraqis that Joe Biden helped kill by pushing for the Iraq war back in 2003? No. Most Muslim Americans understood back in 2020 that stopping Trump was more important than punishing Biden for Iraq. That frustratingly, tragically, pretty much every president of the United States kills Muslims. Kills people abroad. There are no good, clean, or pure options. Sorry. So look, whether or not you vote for Harris, that's up to you. It isn't an easy choice. But it is a choice. Let's not lie to ourselves about this. It isn't happening in a vacuum. And the alternative to Kamala Harris come Inauguration Day 2025 will be Donald Trump, not Jill Stein. The same Donald Trump who Netanyahu and Ben-Gvir want as president. They don't want Harris. A lot of Muslims don't want to give Netanyahu and Ben-Gvir what they want, and so they may hold their noses and vote for Harris. That doesn't make them bad Muslims or pro-genocide. And so it does annoy me that some in my community, the Muslim American community, want us to pretend that this is an easy choice, that you just abandon Harris to support Gaza, that you have clean hands, and that you then have no moral responsibility for the pro-genocide, pro-Netanyahu, anti-Muslim, racist, unhinged Trump who comes next, because that is who comes next, whether you like it or not. And so
whoa. And that's case and fact right there. Go ahead. And I don't want to say I'm not telling you to vote for Kamala Harris. Trust me, Kamala Harris is not my first choice, but I will vote for her to keep Trump out the game. That simple. Because you think what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is doing in Gaza is wrong. Wait until someone who wants to prove a point gets into that seat. You don't think Trump wants to show his Christian audience, his racist audience, that he can terrorize and kill as many Palestinian, as many brown people as possible? You don't think that's something he wants to prove? He's already talking crazy about brown people here legally in America. So you think he's going to do any less to people who don't live here? But no, you want to teach Kamala Harris lessons. Like really? Come on. Man, that's something that I'm not a betting man. So that's something I definitely don't want to bet on at all. So
the reality is that no matter who you vote for or whether or not you vote at all, your hands aren't going to be clean. Again, sorry. Now, sure, some people online may tell you what you want to hear. They may go viral by making things sound simple and easy or moral and Islamic to you. My job isn't to do that. My job is to tell you the truth, no matter how inconvenient, awkward, or unpopular. And believe it or not, agree with me or not, that is what I'm trying to do. I literally quit a job in corporate media so that I could speak much more freely to you all. So thank you for listening, and God help us all on November the 5th.
God help us all. Hey, that's essentially the options we have. And like I said, I definitely would want a third party. I feel like the Green Party or any other party, honestly, need to do their due diligence, do what they have to do to be a main player in this conversation. You can't just like do a few interviews and expect to get 15, 20, 30%. Like, you have to do the groundwork. You have to get people into these local governments and build like allies in that way. And that's just basic stuff that a YouTuber like myself knows. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure it's more detailed planning that can make the Green Party more of a player, but at least do the basics. That's all I'm asking. You know, and then I would want to cast my precious vote for a Green Party or anyone else, honestly. You know what I'm saying? But not every choice is going to be easy. I know the whole, evil versus evil type thing, but if we're being honest with ourselves, which I hope you are, one party is more evil than the other. And that party wants to prove that it can be as evil as it can be. Just hear them talk. Just hear what they did the 4 years that they were in. They gave everything that Israel wanted, they gave it to them on a silver platter. Just look it up. So let's not lie to ourselves. And, I don't want to be that person that say, hey, I'm not telling you who to vote for. No, I want to persuade you on making the smartest decision. And that is voting for Kamala Harris. Hey, this is my platform. This is my YouTube channel. I can say what I want. You know what I'm saying? And my job is to at least inform people in making the smartest decisions as possible. My YouTube channel isn't supposed to be unbiased. No, I'm biased as hell in some of the things that I believe, the standards and my morals. And I'm just sharing that with you. That's it. Ain't no big media company paying me to say anything or to be unbiased. Bro, I say what I want. So once again, if you guys have any disagreements or anything that I said in this video, let me know in the Discord channel and let's have that talk. Or let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And like always, let's have that conversation.